Welcome to our channel with new interesting story. We can't actually measure their brains, but maybe you have the power of levitation, and I could witness it. From daring feats to spiritual journeys, monks have been testing the limits of human potential for centuries. What is their secret? What gives them incredible endurance and unshakable discipline? Today, we dive into the fascinating world of mysterious monks and reveal the unbelievable stories behind their legendary abilities. In the freezing snow-covered lands of Tibet, where survival seems impossible, a lone monk sits in silence. He has no fire, no shelter, just an endless white landscape and a wind so sharp it cuts through the skin. This is the Rangwo Monastery, the highest monastery on earth. For most, this place is unlivable, but for him, it is where he finds true peace. No one knows his name or how long he has been there. Yet, every morning before the first light touches the Himalayan peaks, he follows a routine that would break most people in minutes. There is no fire to keep him warm. Instead, he wakes to air so cold it stings his skin, and he embraces it. He reaches into the snow with his bare hands, scooping up the frozen earth and pressing it against his skin not as a test or punishment, but as a form of surrender. His only drinking water comes from ice he gathers, holding it in his hands until his body heat melts it into liquid. He drinks it slowly and respectfully, as if it carries something sacred. However, water is not the only thing he has given up. While most people struggle with the thought of skipping a meal, this monk has trained himself to live without food. His strength does not come from nourishment but from mastering his mind. He sits in complete stillness for hours, whispering sacred chants that fill the air with an invisible energy. Yet, his greatest act is not the chanting, it is letting go. To him, this mountain is a sacred temple, a place where he aims to dissolve his identity and merge with something greater. He believes that by giving up comfort, attachment, and even his sense of self, he can connect with the divine presence of Shiva, the cosmic force of destruction and transformation. While he surrenders to the harsh winter, another monk defies gravity itself, climbing a steep rock face hundreds of meters above the ground. In 2020, a video surfaced online that left the internet in shock. It showed a woman using ropes and safety gear to climb a nearly vertical mountain with intense focus. But beside her, something almost supernatural was happening. A barefoot monk, with no climbing equipment, was scaling the rock as if he were walking on level ground. The video, shared by Tansu Yegan, quickly gained over 510,000 views and 22,000 likes, leaving viewers amazed. Comments poured in, attributing his seemingly impossible climb to yoga, meditation, and years of discipline. Some called it the ultimate display of experience versus inexperience. Others noticed his technique, moving side to side to reduce the steepness, proving that mastery is not just about strength but also wisdom. But one question remains: how can a human body defy gravity like that? The secret isn't just physical. Many believe his movements are guided by deep mental control. Through relentless training, he has conditioned his mind to remain completely calm even in the face of danger. His breathing stays slow and steady, keeping his heart rate low, his muscles relaxed, and his grip firm. Fear does not paralyze him, because fear does not exist in his world. As this monk pushed the limits of self-discipline, another traveled through time itself. The Galwa Karmapa is not just a leader, he is a force of nature, a living stream of wisdom flowing through centuries. As the head of the Karma Kagyu lineage, he carries the spiritual weight of many lifetimes. When one Karmapa passes away, the search for his reincarnation begins not through politics or earthly decisions but through visions, sacred texts, and mystical signs that reveal his rebirth. In June 1985, in the rugged landscapes of Tibet, a boy was born to a humble nomadic family in Latok. His birth was no ordinary event, it seemed as though the heavens took notice. His mother had vivid dreams of divine beings, a cuckoo bird, a symbol of great spiritual significance, perched on their tent, and an eerie, mysterious sound echoed through the valley. In Tibet, such events are not seen as coincidences but as signs. The boy was named Apo Gaga, meaning happy brother, and from the beginning, his family sensed he was different. At just 4 years old, he began his monastic education, but destiny had greater plans for him. In the spring of 1992, at the age of 7, he made a shocking announcement to his parents. He told them they had to move immediately to another valley. He spoke with certainty, as if he knew something was coming. Days later, a group of Karma Kagyu monks arrived, following instructions from a secret letter, a prophecy written by the 16th Karmapa before his passing. The letter detailed the exact year and place of his rebirth and even the names of his future parents. Every sign pointed to one conclusion: Apo Gaga was the reincarnation they were searching for. Recognized as the 17th Karmapa, Ogyen Trinley Dorje, his identity was confirmed by none other than the 14th Dalai Lama himself. Even the Chinese government acknowledged his legitimacy, solidifying his position as the spiritual leader of his lineage. At the heart of this lineage is a ritual surrounded by legend, the Black Hat ceremony. This is no ordinary headdress. It is said to be woven from the hair of celestial beings and was a gift from the Buddha himself. More than just a symbol, it is believed to hold immense spiritual power, amplifying the Karmapa's divine presence. Before the ceremony, the Karmapa enters deep meditation, merging his mind with Shenrezig, the Buddha of compassion. As he finally wears the black hat, devotees claim they feel an incredible energy shift, as if the physical and spiritual worlds momentarily connect. Today, the Karmapa stands as a bridge between ancient traditions and modern challenges, blending deep meditation with action on urgent global issues such as climate change, education, and world peace. His presence is a reminder that enlightenment is not just a personal journey, it is a force that continues through generations. However, while some monks dedicate themselves to rebirth, others seek immortality within their own bodies. In 2015, researchers scanning an ancient Buddha statue expected to find solid stone. Instead, they uncovered something astonishing: a perfectly preserved human body seated in eternal meditation. The mummified remains belonged to Buddhist master Liu Quan, hidden inside the statue for over 1,000 years. But how did he get there? The answer is almost unbelievable. Liu Quan was not placed inside the statue after his death, he became the statue. He was one of the rare monks who underwent self-mummification, a process so extreme that it is almost beyond belief. Unlike ordinary mummies, preserved by climate or artificial methods, these monks prepared their own bodies while still alive, ensuring they would never decay. 4 years, Liu Quan followed a strict diet that stripped his body of all fat and moisture, making him unsuitable for decay. He ate only nuts, seeds, bark, and roots. But starvation was not enough. He drank a poisonous tea made from toxic tree sap, slowly poisoning himself to prevent bacteria and insects from consuming his body after death. Eventually, his flesh turned to stone before he passed away. In his final moments, Liu Quan sealed himself inside a stone chamber, meditating in complete stillness. Each day, he rang a small bell to signal that he was still alive. Then, one day, the bell stopped. His fellow monks waited in silence. If his mummification had been successful, he would be honored as a true enlightened master. If not, he would receive a traditional burial. Centuries later, when researchers examined his remains inside the statue, they discovered something even more mysterious: cryptic symbols and inscriptions surrounding him. Some believe these markings contain lost meditation techniques and hidden teachings on enlightenment, passed down through secret Buddhist sects. While monks like Liu Quan pursued immortality, others, like Honen, took a radically different path, bringing enlightenment to the people, rather than seeking it in isolation. In 1207, a strong backlash emerged against Honen. He was declared a threat, his followers were persecuted, and some were even arrested. He was banished to a remote province, and his teachings were outlawed. The Buddhist elite believed they had silenced him, but his message was already too powerful to be erased. Before his passing in 1212, Honen laid the foundation for the Jodo school of Pure Land Buddhism, one of the most widely practiced traditions in Japan today. His spiritual revolution was unstoppable. While Honen transformed spirituality with a simple chant, some monks took their devotion to even greater extremes, so much so that their very bodies became proof of their enlightenment. At Wat Kunam Temple in Thailand, a mystery remains frozen in time. Decades have passed since 1973, yet Luang Podang remains exactly as he was in life, seated in deep meditation, his expression serene and untouched by decay. Tourists and devotees alike gather in silent awe, staring at the monk who seems to have defied death itself. Luang Podang lived with unwavering discipline, dedicating himself to deep meditation and the purity of Buddhist teachings. When his time came, he met his passing in the same stillness that defined his life. His followers placed him in a glass case at Wat Kunam Temple, expecting his remains to wither with time. However, something extraordinary happened. Days turned into months, months into years, and yet his body did not change. His skin, his posture, and even the peaceful look on his face remained untouched by time. Scientists speculate that his plant-based diet or the dry, warm climate may have preserved him, but others believe that his mastery of mind and body allowed him to transcend the natural laws, existing in perfect harmony even in death. His story is one of stillness and quiet defiance against time itself. While Luang Podang met his end in absolute peace, another monk sought the truth through relentless motion. For 9 years, Bodhidharma sat in unbroken meditation, staring at a cave wall, unmoved by hunger, cold, or the passing of time. He was no ordinary monk. Bodhidharma became a spiritual warrior whose presence shook empires and unknowingly gave birth to Shaolin Kung Fu. Born in India, he crossed treacherous landscapes, driven by an unshakable purpose to strip away illusion and awaken people to the raw truth of existence. His journey led him to China in the 6th century, where he encountered monks, scholars, and even an emperor. When Emperor Wu of Liang proudly asked what spiritual merit he had earned by building temples and spreading Buddhism, Bodhidharma's answer was blunt: none whatsoever. The emperor was stunned. Bodhidharma was not there to flatter kings or recite comforting scriptures. His greatest act of defiance came at the Shaolin Temple, where he sat in absolute silence, meditating for 9 years. His presence became legendary, a living embodiment of Zen's raw intensity. It is said his meditation was so powerful that his energy reshaped the temple itself. The monks at Shaolin were physically weak, their bodies too fragile for the extreme demands of deep meditation. Seeing their struggle, Bodhidharma introduced rigorous physical training exercises designed to build strength, endurance, and unwavering focus. These teachings evolved into Shaolin martial arts, an explosive fusion of mind and body, movement and stillness. His fierce dedication forever altered the course of Chinese Buddhism. Yet, while he sat in stillness, another spiritual trailblazer was in motion, redefining enlightenment in an entirely new way. In the rugged mountains of 11th century Tibet, where spiritual seekers braved the elements in search of enlightenment, one man's journey stood out. Malat Sawa, known as the Great Translator, became a force of transformation. Born in 102, he dedicated his life to bringing the sacred teachings of Indian Buddhism to Tibet. Without him, Tibetan Buddhism as we know it might not exist. His quest was not easy. Determined to learn directly from the great Indian masters, he set out on perilous journeys across the Himalayas multiple times. His travels were filled with danger, treacherous mountain passes, deadly cold, and the constant threat of bandits. Yet, he remained undeterred. Each time he returned with precious Buddhist texts, rare teachings, and a deeper understanding of the spiritual path. He studied under legendary teachers like Naropa and Maitripa, mastering intricate meditative practices and esoteric philosophies. Translating texts was not just about language, it required deep spiritual insight. Malat Sawa did not merely bring back Buddhist scriptures, he infused them with the wisdom of lived experience, making them accessible to Tibetans. One of his most defining relationships was with Milarepa, who would become Tibet's most revered yogi and poet. Their journey together was far from gentle. When Milarepa sought guidance, Malat Sawa did not immediately teach him but instead put him through grueling trials. He ordered him to build and rebuild stone towers, an exhausting task under harsh conditions. To outsiders, this seemed cruel, but Malat Sawa saw something deeper. Milarepa carried a dark past tainted by misdeeds, and before he could embrace enlightenment, his karma needed purification. Despite the suffering, Milarepa endured with unwavering determination. Finally, Malat Sawa deemed him ready and initiated him into the highest spiritual teachings. From this mentorship emerged a yogi who would inspire millions. Malat Sawa's relentless pursuit of wisdom ensured Tibetan Buddhism's survival. Centuries later, in a distant land, Sri Ramakrishna took a different path. Born in 1836 near Kolkata, he was a mystic whose hunger for the divine could not be contained. As the priest of the Dakshineswar temple, he immersed himself in worship with such intensity that the boundaries between himself and the goddess seemed to dissolve. He would slip into trances, lost in a world where the divine was not distant but an overwhelming presence. His search for truth could not be confined to one path. He immersed himself in Christianity, meditated on Christ until he experienced a radiant vision, and embraced Islam, chanting the name of Allah until he was overcome with its profound serenity. Each path led him to the same realization, different names, different rituals, but one unshakable truth: all religions held the same essence. This was not just philosophy, it was a revolution. Ramankrishna's message could have faded within temple walls, known only to a handful of followers. However, fate had a different plan. Swami Vivekananda carried his master's vision across oceans, turning it into a movement. The Ramankrishna mission emerged as a living force, building schools, hospitals, and humanitarian efforts that breathed life into his teachings. In the end, Ramankrishna left behind more than words. He left a path wide enough for the world to walk. Thanks for watching.